Murder Drones is a show I hold in high regard. While I do not make that many videos about it, I still believe it is one of the best indie shows of the past decade. Today, October 29th, is the show's 4th anniversary, and I wanted to try something different to commemorate that. Instead of a brief acknowledgement or a small discussion about it, I wanted to cover all 8 episodes of the series in one video, looking back at how it started and how it ended. This video will be about my thoughts regarding the series and how it progressed. I hope you enjoy. The pilot of Murder Drones is the first video from Glitch that I ever watched, and what an introduction it was. The episode covers Uzi as she tries to create a weapon to defeat the Murder Drones, while accidentally befriending N and working with him to defeat his boss Jay. The story of this pilot was a nice underdog story as we see how Uzi is an outcast in worker drone society, and we see how N isn't treated with that much respect, and it's heartwarming to see these two overcome these challenges, especially since this was their first meeting. It was not perfect, granted, nothing is. I do notice how the dialogue is paced slightly awkwardly, and the animation is not even close to the quality it holds today, though it still did a good job setting up the story of the show. The way the characters begin and how they evolve further on, the red herrings are sprinkled throughout the pilot, they all make the rest of the show that much more shocking. This is a nice episode to look back to because this is where it all began. The characters, the story, everything we have come to love about Murder Drones came from this episode, and I'm personally grateful for that. If the pilot hooked me in for Murder Drones, then Heartbeat was what kept me intrigued. This episode is about Uzi and N encountering an Eldritch monster that used to be Jay, and the terrifying implications of it. While the obvious critique of the animation still stands, what this episode did well was set up the character drama. Heartbeat hints that the story of Murder Drones isn't simply about a robot trying to wipe out greedy humans, but instead goes deeper with biomechanical monsters. It was chilling at seeing Uzi go from reluctantly accepting N as a friend to being scared of him all over again. It was also nice to see the beginning of Khan's arc when he strives to become a better father to Uzi. I think something they got right was the star of the show, Eldritch J. This creature was incredibly designed, and the way his true form was only hinted at through only brief glimpses and shadows makes it that much more horrifying in execution. When the Season 1 trailer came out, this was the episode everyone was waiting for, and looking back, I can see why. This episode revolves around Uzi reuniting with N and helping him stop Doll from killing V at prom. I can see why this is the favorite episode for a lot of people. I enjoyed seeing Uzi and N reunite, and getting to see hints of their romance. V was a fascinating character. As we see her gray morality, how she cared about N, but outwardly wanted to be seen as a heartless maniac that only wished to see everyone around her dead. Khan did get some small development in this episode, and we even briefly see him show guilt when he is forced out of a conflict, and tries to help Uzi rather than leave her behind again. Doll, while not my favorite character, was still endearing with her mysterious nature, and her backstory regarding V, since it serves as a reminder that the actions of these characters matter at the end of the day. On top of that, the prom theme was fun, and the designs of the characters that came with it were adorable. I believe this is where the fight choreography really took off, becoming more creative with its characters and environments, and just making them feel unique in a lot of ways. All in all, I would say that this episode was amazing, and really set the stage for the amazing story that will be told in later episodes. In terms of horror, I feel like Cabin Fever did a great job in that department. This episode covers Uzi gaining her Solver form, and how she has to keep the absolute Solver from controlling her. I would say that the horror in this episode was MD's horror at its best, not just with the camp setting being a reference to classic horror movies, but primarily the unnatural blend of organic flesh and metal with Uzi's Solver form. It just feels wrong when it's introduced. Seeing Uzi struggle with it was heartbreaking, considering we see just how painful it is through the incredible visuals and the amazing performance by Elsie Lovelock. However, something that took me a while to understand was V's characterization. This was before we learned her true motives, and it was bad enough when she acted like a jerk without justification. Though looking back, I feel like this helped her character. We see her realize that her attempts to hide the truth from N are only pushing him away and causing more psychological harm than it prevents. Seeing N so angry was just so disturbing. Whenever the nice guy snaps, that's when you know something's terribly wrong. Home is the least popular episode of the series, something I didn't get when I first watched it. This episode covers Uzi looking into N and V's past while trying to keep Sin from erasing their memories. Contrary to popular opinion, I don't hate this episode. I enjoyed getting a look into the past of these characters and seeing how some characters like N never truly changed despite circumstance. With this being Sin's first proper episode, I'd say that it was a good introduction to the character, as it puts her silly side and her megalomaniacal side on full display in a balance that makes her compelling. Tessa was also seen prominently in this episode, and I think they did the best they could with their limited screen time. This episode really got us to sympathize with her, considering the toxic environment she was stuck in, and it makes her fate all the more tragic. Looking back, I understand why people don't like it, with Uzi intruding on important moments, dare I say it, Lord Frumptelbucket's scene. Even if I don't hate it, I can understand why other people do. I believe I speak for all Murder Drones fans when I say that it is an understatement to say Dead End was traumatic. Dead End is about the trio as they join Tessa through the Cabin Fever labs, and we see how humanity's hubris became their undoing. The best way I can describe this episode is with the word uncomfortable. From the way that Alice tortures her victims, to the ability the Sentinels have to stun their prey, to how it introduces the idea that Sin will use Uzi to destroy the universe planet by planet. Outside of this, N's discussions with Sin, who is disguised as Tessa at this point, were what really made this episode feel off-putting. Sin portrayed Tessa as a jerk, who only cared about her mission, and used others as a means to an end. Her aloofness made her my least favorite character for a long time, and the fact that she cared so little about her own friends must have raised a few eyebrows. Though with this knowledge, it makes her moment where she slows down to try and convince N that keeping Uzi alive will doom the universe feel much more manipulative and dishonest. How can we believe someone who treated everything like a joke? But I think the pivotal moment of this episode was V's sacrifice at the end. When I first saw that, I was utterly mentally destroyed, because it made me realize how much V had changed since the first episode, and how she was willing to put her own life on the line to protect others rather than herself. After that, I always acted like each character could be killed off at any moment the writers wanted, and it really made the stakes feel higher. Mass destruction is the closest Murder Drones has ever been to being a grim dark. This episode is about the fallout of episode 6 as N realizes what Sin has done, and Uzi discovers her part in this master plan. What really sets this episode apart from others, other than the obvious biblical imagery and claustrophobic nature of the setting, is just how gloomy it feels, as I don't remember that much comedy aside from a few side gags. This whole episode feels hopeless, as if it is trying to say that no matter what our heroes do, it will all be for nothing. I think this is best seen with the reveal that the Murder Drones wiped out humanity, Doll being axed off in the middle of the episode with no fanfare, Uzi being puppeted by Sin during the ending, the last shot of the episode that had no sound or music, and especially the reveal that Sin was pretending to be Tessa the whole time, after a fake-out death. A lot of the reveals in this episode make the series feel different when you're done watching it. Yet it still makes sense in retrospect when you stop and find the clues. Other than that, it was nice to see Nori make an appearance. It was nice to see where Uzi's quirks came from. Nori absolutely stole the show whenever she was in the shot, both with the comedy she brought and the lore she gave. In general, she embodies how hopeless this episode feels, yet how comedic it can be during the few slower moments it gets. Absolute End, in spite of its flaws, was an incredible finale to me. The finale is about the triumphant trio as they take on Sin in a final battle that will determine the fate of the universe. The pacing was fast, that's obvious. This meant that there wasn't much time to flesh everyone and everything out. With that, some of its narrative decisions did not sit right with some people, such as Jay not getting a redemption arc. However, it excels in what it does right. Seeing Uzi and En reunite was heartwarming, them being a couple was just sweet. V's return was done well, and seeing her return and atone for her mistakes with En after several episodes of keeping the truth from him was very satisfying. It was nice seeing Thad, Lizzie, and Khan get some attention, even if it wasn't much. Sin's downfall was extremely satisfying, especially when you consider everything she had done throughout the series, both on the broad scale of the universe and to what she had done to the characters directly and indirectly. This episode, upon release, made me a very happy man, and it cemented this show as one of the best indie shows I have ever seen. While I do understand that it could have been better in some places, that does not take away everything that it did right. The flaws it has do not take away from the positive impact the series had on me and so many other people. So those are my thoughts on Murder Drones, all 8 episodes. What a wild ride it was. In short, Murder Drones is a wonderful experience that blends horror, comedy, and mystery together in an unforgettable package. It's not perfect, as I said, but it still holds a special place in my heart, and I'm grateful to have been a fan of it. I wish this wonderful show a happy anniversary. Thank you for watching.